Okay, Jerry, with that, our feature presentation. Bob, do you want to do your intro, please?
Well, this is Jerry and Mrs. Linda. They're club members, and this is about their trip to Namibia and Rwanda. And Jerry's a former software engineer, Linda a social worker. They originally
So far, I am the only person
they were a long time
on the mic.
standing here because it's being zoomed, but they longtime residents of North Carolina and been residents here in the villages for about 5 years. They found a way to combine their love of travel and birding by going to a lot of birding festivals and cruises, and more recently, safaris. So the program's about some African safaris.
I am not a professional speaker. I've done very little travel before I retired. My wife and I barely made it out of the United States. I'm an absolutely mediocre photographer, and I'm not even that great a birder. I don't even keep a bird list. So of course I'm natural to give a presentation like this. Really what I hope to do is inspire you to go, I don't have to be great at any of this stuff to be able to have a great adventure, because this was a trip of a lifetime, the two of us. It was so great that we're looking forward to having more trips of lifetimes after this. We went to Africa. So did we see all of Africa? Well, no, Africa is a big country. If you look at the screen up here, gee, Africa looks to be at least twice as big as the United States. Actually, it's bigger than that. If you map the United States onto Africa, it fit in that corner up there, with room left over for all of Eastern Europe, all of Western Europe, all of India, all of China. I think they're throwing in Japan and the UK. It's a bloody big place. That flat projection kind of messes with our minds on this. So we didn't see all of Africa. We saw good parts of two different countries. The first country is Namibia. It's just north of South Africa. It's a large country, like Texas size, 20% bigger than Texas, actually. Very low population. It's almost all desert. Get very little rain. Where we were along the western coast, they averaged 5 millimeters of rain a year. That's a 50th of an inch. That inch and a half rain I got earlier in the week, that'd take them 75 years to get there. Very different environment. The second country we went to, Rwanda, if you can even find it in there, in the central part of the picture, tiny little country, about the size of the state of Connecticut. Much higher country, instead of sea level on up the hills. This starts at like 3,000 feet, goes up to 8, 9, 10,000 feet. Very lush, lots of rain, 30 inches a year on average. Very, very different environments, and that's why the person who put this trip together chose them. When we were in Namibia, we flew in to the south, stayed a while, drove up the coast along the so-called skeleton coast, where there's been a lot of shipwrecks, a lot of sand dunes there. It's part of the Namib Desert, the oldest desert in the world. Drove kind of around the country across the top in here. We went to the Etosha National Park. This park is bigger than the state of West Virginia. The big park. So we spent several days there. Then worked our way down back into a different city, Windhoek, the capital city, and flew back to Johannesburg, South Africa, where we flew into originally, because there's no direct flights from there to Rwanda. I don't know if they are normally, but with the pandemic, there weren't. We went to Rwanda, we flew into the capital city, drove kind of all over the country because it's a small country, and then back to the capital city and back down to South Africa. This was our home away from home. For 3 weeks in Namibia, we lived in this kind of thing. We had some really nice hotels, but we were in this thing all day, driving everywhere. This was not a physically strenuous trip in terms of massive amounts of hiking, particularly in Namibia. Most of the time we drove around and stopped, looked out the windows, or maybe got out of the car and looked for things. We had a very similar vehicle in Rwanda as well. This was a very small group. There was only 7 of us, plus the guide. So it was a very different experience than other people who go to Africa. For example, the people on this safari vehicle. This was up in that Etosha National Park. That's at least 6 rows deep, and there are at least 4 people across each one. So I imagine out of those, about 12 people got to see anything, and they only got to see out of their side of the truck. Ours, we could stand up, look out the top. It was just fabulous. I feel sorry for these people. They went to Africa and didn't see it, as far as I'm concerned. On to the birds. Got a lot of birds here, so I'm gonna talk fast and show a lot of pictures. I really wanted to see some iconic African birds here. I listed about a dozen birds I want to see. This was number 1 on the list. The common ostrich. We got kind of close to this guys. We don't have anything like this in America, I tell you. A number of the birds we saw there, we would see similar things. Like we've got black-bellied whistling ducks. They have white-faced whistling ducks. And we got all kinds of ducks. They got South African shell ducks. A pretty one. The male have a gray head. The female have this white head. I guess I'll click on it back. The Hottentot teal is the bird with the bluish bill and the 2-tone face. The Cape teal, and there's a lot of birds there called Cape something. Anything kind of in that part of Africa, there's a new bird, they tended to call them Cape whatever. The Cape teal is one with a pinkish bill. They happen to be together. Incidentally, while we were on this trip, apparently the IOC, which is the International Ornithological Committee or something like that, and I used their bird list to order this slideshow, changed the name of Hottentot teal to something else, but in my heart it'll always be the Hottentot. But that's just a cool name. We have shoveling ducks. They have shoveler ducks. This is the Cape shoveler, again with the Cape. Spur-winged goose. To me, it looks like whatever those goofy little birds are that we have in kind of across from Egyptian Greece, and the duck that has a love model. Muscovies. In your moments there. Into the fowl, guinea fowl, you'll see these at a lot of zoos. You'll see these in all the towns in Namibia. It's kind of semi-domesticated there, and you see them all over the place in the wild. They have this wonderful crest on top of their heads, but they're so common that our guide just referred to them as chickens. There's another chicken. There's another chicken. We saw lots of chickens. There's a family of similar birds called francolins. This is the red-billed francolin. Wanders around the ground, pecks the ground for insects, seeds, whatever. We also saw the crested francolin, red-necked francolin. I don't see a red neck. I see red through the eyes and the bill, but I didn't name these birds. And the Orange River francolin. Our guide was particularly keen on getting this. He's writing his own Namibia bird book, and he wanted pictures of this. So he was more thrilled than us, although we were quite thrilled to see this guy. Greater flamingo. Where's the pink? Apparently they don't eat a lot of the type of crustaceans that give them the pink coloration to their feathers. The greater flamingos are the ones with the pinkish to orangish bills and the pink legs. A couple of these in here are lesser flamingos. The lesser flamingos have a black bill and black legs, but you see the flocks mixed together. And you see these mostly along the coast, sometimes inland on ponds, but we saw them on the ocean as well. Eared grebes, hey, we get pied grebes, they got eared grebes. A lot of similar birds. You had to look at the differences. You kind of recognize them and go, I don't know quite what that is. Speckled pigeon, okay, it's a rock-dove, it's pigeon. Oh no, you look at its eyes, it's got these huge yellow cat's eye eyes with kind of a slit for a pupil and this big like lipstick red thing around it. It's just an amazing looking bird. And hanging around with it very commonly was the laughing dove. A very pretty little dove, lots of browns, grays, just delicate, gorgeous little dove. I had several kinds of doves. I also had the emerald spotted wood dove. And they had a couple other doves that we never got to see. But here you see the emerald spotted is the green pattern around the wing here. And the Namakwa dove, long-tailed dove with a black front. Actually, the word Namakwa means long-tailed dove. So it seems like, scampy shrimp or something like that. But that name has been used for a park and a region and for other birds. So not just Namakwa dove, but the Namakwa sand grouse. Okay, got to reuse names, I guess. Pretty little bird, yellow eye ring, very nice. The double banded sand grouse, you see a white and a black stripe in the front of the bird, very neat looking. The Burchell's sand grouse, don't know who Burchell is, but he got to name his own sand grouse. We don't all get that opportunity. This was a cool bird, the Cory bustard and the white quilled bustard. The Cory bustard is the big bird on the left, and it is big. It's the heaviest flying bird in the world. Big, huge, thick neck, big legs, big body. I mean, it stood up to my armpit kind of thing. And this other tiny bird in the background, seemingly tiny, it's a good sized bird. It's at least as large as a rock duck, something like that. And these two were hanging out together. The Cory would take a couple of big steps, and the white quilled bustard would stand up, step after it, and then sit back down. I don't know what the relationship was, quite what he was getting out of it, but that's the standing up. But they were cool, kind of an odd couple. A couple different kinds of bustards we saw there. Rupel, his name gets around. He apparently was an early bird watcher that got to name birds after him. The gray go-away bird, pretty bird with a big crest and all that. And apparently the name comes from the fact that the sound it makes sounds like the native language for the phrase go away. So sometimes bird names make sense. Didn't sound like go away to me, but then I don't, I speak English. What do I know? The bare-faced go away bird, again with the great crest, nice long tail, but the face was seemingly bare of feathers, very, very dark against the white background. Very nice bird. Saw a few cuckoos, including the Levalance, well, however that's pronounced. I'll call him Levy's cuckoo, trying to hide in the bushes from me and doing a pretty successful job of it. The Claus cuckoo, they all hide in the bushes from me. In fact, a lot of the birds there hid so well for me that I'm sparing you from thousands of pictures of leaves. The pennant-winged nightjar. We saw this at night. We took a vehicle out and the driver would spot, it had no headlights, driving pitch black on these terrible roads through the wilderness, shining around a red spotlight for the animals that can see at night. They literally cannot see red, so it doesn't bother them. They don't have red sensors in their eyeballs. So he spotted the pennant-winged nightjar at night, and right in the middle of the path. Freckled nightjar, for some reason, this guy used a white spotlight, which some of us asked about, and never got a satisfactory answer on. But rather than flying, we'd see them flying around at night too. Good sized bird, huge eyes flying at night. The African swamp hen, looks like a purple gallinule to me. Or maybe a swamp hen, somewhere in between, but they assured me, no, this was an African swamp hen, not to be confused. I took them at their word at it. The red knobbed coot looks a lot like our coot, except instead of a white, flat, brownish spot in the forehead, has these two big red knobs sticking out. I like bird names that are descriptive like that. The blue crane, not a great shot, but this was a special bird. This bird is normally only seen in southern South Africa. The area we were at was quite a long ways north of there, but a group of about 24 of these has established themselves up there, and they are being very closely monitored by the avid bird watchers that are there. So it's a real thrill to be able to see them. The gray crowned crane, beautiful bird. You'll see these in zoos. That was another one I really, really wanted to see because I've seen them in zoos. The big crest of feathers sticking out top of its head, beautiful coloration. They are gorgeous, and people love to have them in their backyards or fenced in backyards. In Africa, a lot of people fence in their backyards to keep leopards out. So they would get these and they, would mess with their wings so they couldn't fly. And so many people had done this, the bird was getting to be almost extinct. So the government stepped in after, the big genocide there. The new government stepped in and said, all right, we're confiscating all of these. We're making a sanctuary for them, allowing them to breed in a protected fenced in area, and their kids, as they grow up and fly, they can leave the area. And it's been pretty successful so far. Really a nice program. The water thickney. To me, this looks like a night bird, but we saw it walking around. I saw a couple of different kinds of thickneys. It's the only one I got a picture of. Huge eye. It's got to be a night bird. Whatever. We saw them during the day. So just one of those wild guys. The spotted thickney, another one wandering around. I guess he's got spots. The black winged stilt, similar to our black necked stilt, but different color pattern. You move to Africa or move to America, you change your color pattern, you're unique. Pied avocet, pied meaning two color. This has got two main colors, kind of a brownish black and the white. Beautiful bird, like all avocets are beautiful to me. The African oyster catcher, lousy shot, very blurry. There was a lot of heat haze here, but we got oyster catchers. They got oyster catchers. The blacksmith lapwing, cool sounding bird, had an interesting call, flew around our heads, was very protective of its area. We first saw it in a brackish, saltwater, freshwater combination pond real near the ocean. And we thought, I thought anyway, that's going to be the last we see them, because that must be their environment. Oh no, every water hole we saw in Namibia had at least one blacksmith lapwing. They're all over the country. Long-legged birds, the lapwings, stocky body, the crowned lapwing with this interesting black stripe through the eye and above the eye, the white stripe and the little black cap on top. That's the crown. The wattled lapwing, he's got these yellow flaps coming down on the side of the bill. Very pretty bird, very striking. Into the shorebirds, common ringed plover. Well, we saw him, he must have been common. He had a ring around his neck, obvious name. Three-banded plover. Gee, 1, 2, 3. I wonder if he got that name. The white-fronted plover. I see a stripe there. I see a ring, but he's mostly has a white front. So I like people who name birds that actually help you identify them. The curlew sandpiper. I don't know what's curlewish about him, but that's what he is. I don't know what curlew even means. The green sandpiper. The curlew sandpiper was near the shore of the Atlantic Ocean. This was way inland in Rwanda, so the sandpipers definitely have range. The double-banded courser, again, a couple of bands there. Could have called it three-ring, but kind of a similar bird to what we're seeing before. Into the gulls, the gray-headed gull, got kind of a slight grayish head there. Hartlub's gull, red bill, very, very snow white. Kelp gull, I guess he goes out to kelp forest or something, but he almost look like gulls we see around here, but apparently not. I'm not the birding expert. The great crested tern with the long yellow bill in the center, he's kind of surrounded by sandwich terns, which we should all recognize here, since most of us have gone to see them somewhere. The African open bill is a type of stork. Didn't catch it at the right angle, but if you look at them at the right angle, the bills do not meet all the way from the base of the mouth to the tip. There's kind of a weird little gap there. Don't know how that serves the bird, but he had it. Abdim's stork, kind of a funny looking stork. Our guide in Rwanda was beside himself seeing these. He sees them, but we saw a flock of like 80 of them. And he says he's never seen more than half a dozen or so at a time. So we were very fortunate in seeing them. The marabou stork, gargantuan stork, kind of like the jeribou stork you get down in Costa Rica and areas like that. A big bird with, an excitingly bald head. I'm trying to embrace the hair loss here. Interesting looking, not as pretty as the yellow-billed stork off the distance, little red band around the face, white. He was too pretty to be a stork, I thought. The African darter. Now, if you pointed that out to me and said, no, that's an anhinga. Anhingas are a member of the darter family. These look very similar. Coloration is a little bit different, but these are the African version of our Anhingas. And here's a couple of them having a spirited conversation. I don't know if they're trying to mate or defend territory or what, but they seem excited. A couple of different kinds of cormorants there. The long-tailed cormorant, the great cormorant. We were at a site that built an artificial peninsula specifically to allow these to come and nest. And they will leave behind their nest and their droppings there. And then every couple of years, when the piles get deep enough and the birds aren't there, they bulldoze all the droppings and nest material together, separate out the stuff. They collect the guano and they make fertilizer out of it and explosives for mining. What we saw numbered into the hundreds of thousands, if not a million, on this flat peninsula, and hundreds of them coming in every minute. An amazing sight. Great white pelican. I'd have to see a picture of a regular white pelican next to it to tell you the differences, but it seemed to be a very large pelican, maybe more yellow in the bill, more pink in the top side. But he was a big boy. The hammercup, another one I was really looking for. I've seen this in zoos. This stands about knee high to me. It's a good sized bird with this big flange of hair sticking out the back, or feathers sticking out the back. Here he is picking up a big, fat, round, black African frog. He'd pick him up, throw him down, pick him up, throw him down, pick him up, throw him down. I guess he was tenderizing him. He was going to eat that guy. The little egret is the size of a snow egret, doesn't have the yellow around the face or on the feet, and not the coloration of an immature little blue heron. But so that was the little egret. We also saw great egrets and cattle egrets. The gray heron, boy, this is the almost twin brother of the great blue heron to me, but they said, no, that's gray. And again, if I got pictures side by side, you probably see, okay, the throat's different, the capsule different, something like that. The purple heron, blurry shot of it flying away. I should have called this the go away bird, because every time I tried to take a picture, it was going away. The black-headed heron, I like that name. The striated heron. It looks like a green heron, but that wing pattern is interesting. The rufous-bellied heron is a little hard to tell in this picture, but his belly was kind of a deep brown. The Hadada ibis, similar to our white ibis, but a gray body, big eye ring around it, and this patch on the shoulders of amazing purple. Just amazing. And by purple, I mean green. Depending on the way the sunlight hit, it completely changed colors. It's like those fancy car paints you see sometimes. Hey, that's purple. No, that's green. How the heck does that work? And he also had a crazy call. Imagine a limpkin on laughing gas. He'd fly over and it just, whoa, strange call. The African sacred ibis, don't know why they worshiped him, but he was cool. The African spoonbill, again, notice he's not like our roseate spoonbill. He apparently doesn't eat, maybe he's got a shellfish allergy or something, but doesn't eat the crustaceans that give him the pink coloration. The secretary bird, another one I really want to see. This is a tall bird, like standing up almost to my armpit. And it's almost all leg. Amazing long legs with no meat on them, just sinew, tendons, bone, and skin. And he uses that to stomp on stuff, to kill them, snakes, lizards, whatever. Just wham, wham, wham. And once it was dead, he'd pick it up and eat it. A magnificent bird, really. The black kite, we all go nuts over our swallow-tailed kites and our snail kites. Well, and we go looking for them because they're kind of hard to find. Well, the black kite, this was taken in the capital city of Rwanda, Kigali, just outside of our hotel. He was right in the city. And he wasn't alone. That tree was full of them. And we went out for a walk that night and looked in the sky, and those are not bats. Those are black kites. There are thousands of black kites in the capital city. Black winged kite. Got black wings, doesn't have an all black body, so we'll call him that. Into the vultures, the palm nut vulture. We saw a number of different kinds of vultures. The lappet-faced vulture, sometimes you'd only catch them, way up in the sky. and you kind of had to trust later identifications through pictures or the bird guide. And our bird guide could spot a dot in the sky and tell you what it was. He was amazingly good. The white-backed vulture, the black-chested snake eagle. We're into the eagles now. To me, it's more black-throated, but apparently, you know, this might have been an immature, and as they get more mature, the black extends down the chest. The brown snake eagle. I guess they eat snakes. I don't know. The Wahlberg's eagle, part of the Wahlberg acting family, you know, boys to men, whatever. The long-crested eagle, magnificent eagle. Well, we got up close to this guy, and those feathers sticking out the back, just really, really cool. The tawny eagle having lunch on a jackal.
Wow.
A jackal that had just been getting chewed on by another jackal. So, yeah, not everything makes it. Everything's got to eat something, and this was choosing to eat a yummy little jackal for lunch. It's the other white meat. The Cassin's hawk eagle, another soaring long spot. The African hawk eagle. I don't know if that's halfway between a hawk and eagle or quite what. The African fish eagle. Really wanted to see this one. This is the cousin of our bald eagle. He's a fishing eagle. He acts, hunts just like the bald eagle. The white goes further down the back. There's a white in the tail as well. You don't see it when he's perching so much, but when he's flying, you do see them. The pale chanting goshawk. Linda saw one of these in Namibia. She was the first person to spot it. We were very proud of her. It's kind of a distant bird, and the guide said, what do you mean, it's a cool bird. I said, you're gonna see lots more of these, and you'll get some up close. But as soon as you got one up close, we started seeing them everywhere. You know, we passed hundreds of them. He wouldn't even slow the truck down. You just go PCG, and not even slow down. We saw a lot of pale chanting goshawks. Our photographers, we were all going, hey, always looking for a better picture. Gabar goshawk, the auger buzzard. Yeah, a little hard to tell what that one is. The lizard buzzard. So whenever you saw any kind of bird, chances are you're going to see multiple instances of that. The speckled mouse bird. With this long tail, I guess that's where it got the name mouse bird. That's what the guide said. We also saw yellow and red something mouse birds, but never could get them to pose for us. Birds, amazingly enough, don't always cooperate. I mean, go figure. The blue naped mouse bird, in the back of his head, he's got this aquamarine turquoise kind of a thing. He was cool looking. The violet woodhopo, hoopoo, whatever he is. I don't know what we have that's equivalent to woodhopos, but he was kind of, maybe they're cuckoos, although they have in a completely different area in the IOC bird list, so they don't think they're that closely related. And on his back, the feathers were kind of a violet, although in this lighting that didn't show particularly well. The common scimitar bill hiding in the tree, but he's got a long down curved bill up here, shaped like a scimitar. So common scimitar bill. The southern yellow-billed hornbill. Also, if you've seen the live action version of The Lion King, that's Zazu. That's the bird. I love hornbills, so I was thrilled to see any hornbill we got there. The Montero's hornbill, have a reddish bill, bigger spots. The Damara red-billed, I probably should have said hornbill there, but that's a hornbill. The Africa gray hornbill, and if you look at the eyelashes, it's a little blurry up there, but it looks like those fake eyelashes you buy to put on the headlights of golf carts. Big, big eyelashes. I've never really noticed bird eyelashes before this bird. He or she had them. The pearl spotted owlet, and owlet makes it sound like it was a small owl. No, that's exactly what it was. It was a tiny little guy. We stayed at. The southern white-faced owl, again, this was a night drive, and they shone spotlight on him, so he was probably blind all that night. We got pictures. Get into the kingfishers, the Africa pygmy kingfisher. Unlike most any kingfishers I've ever seen, this guy actually posed for us. He stood there for like 20 minutes. Unfortunately, he was inside a lot of brush and it was hard to get a focus on him, but little tiny guy. Yeah, been very colorful. The woodland kingfisher, most of the kingfishers we saw are very colorful. This was taken from a moving boat. The malachite kingfisher, just amazingly beautiful birds. And my favorite, the least colorful, the pied kingfisher, black and white. My favorite because they posed and I actually got them in focus. It's not about birds, it's about the pictures. So I was my favorite pictures of the trip, by the way, the 8,000 pictures I took. The olive bee eater, guess what they eat? Insects, including bees. And they kind of fly like a fly catcher. Zoom out, grab something, come back, and then bash that insect to death on the wire, the branch, whatever they're on. There's a number of different bee eaters there. We'll admit, rather late, this version. The swallow-tailed bee eater, quite colorful. You'll see these in zoos sometimes, and they are gorgeous. Just saw a video where they had zoo-raised bee eaters, had never seen bees in their life, and they actually bought a collection of bees and brought them in, released them behind a screen. And these things, it's totally instinctual. They knew exactly, get them, boom, back, kill them. And they cleaned the place out of bees in a matter of minutes. The European bee eater migrates down from Europe. Maybe in Europe they call him the African bee eater, I don't know. The little bee eater, he was not large. The lilac-breasted rollers are kind of related to the bee eaters. Beautiful bird, another bird I've seen in zoos. If you ever get a chance to look one up close, spectacular coloration. The double-toothed barbet. If you look at his bill, he's actually got a shape that looks like a couple of teeth. All the barbets seem to have some sort of notch like that. I don't know what the purpose was of it, but he posed for us outside of a restaurant and made us all happy. The cardinal woodpecker, well, looks like any other woodpecker to me, but the bearded woodpecker, probably female, but bearded female. Golden-tailed woodpecker, how can you tell it's a golden-tailed? Well, it had a golden tail, so, but I wanted you to see its face. Number of kinds of kestrels we saw there. The rock kestrel, the gray kestrel, this neat little yellow eye ring. The greater kestrel, this was along the shore, the ocean. The Amur falcon, similar to the kestrels. And this is quite a leap, but this is the IOC order. The rosy-faced lovebird comes right after falcons and kestrels. Go figure. And you know, I think of these as like, these live in the wild. these are the kind of birds you only see in zoos and pet shops and the like. But oh no, they live in the wild. And they nuzzle each other. They're really, really cute. Myers parrot, a lousy picture, but one of the only two kinds of parrots that we saw there. Yellow patch on the forehead and on the wing. So it's kind of hard to see in the center of the picture there. And the Ruppel's parrot, Ruppel found all kinds of birds with big yellow shoulder pads. The African black-headed oriole. I think this might have been the only oriole we saw. The tropical boo-boo, not related to Yogi Bear and boo-boo. Interesting little black and white bird. The white helmet shrike with his almost double yellow eye ring. He was just a cool looking bird. When he looked at you, you knew you were getting looked at. The brew, not to be confused with the boo-boo. The black-headed gonolek, yellow eyes. I guess I should say down here. Iridescently red belly and wouldn't sit still for more than a half a second, ever. I must have 50 pictures trying to, and this is the closest I got. It's a frustrating bird. Black-headed, yellow eyes, no stripe. Not to be confused with the crimson-breasted, which has black eyes and a white stripe in the wing. And one of our group was desperate to see another kind of gonolek. And we went 2 evenings on a boat into papyrus fields on this lake, and one morning until we finally found them and heard it and eventually saw him. And that was the papyrus gonolek with a yellow cap. Beautiful call, really, really shy bird. So we were extremely fortunate to be able to finally spot him after all that work. The fork-tailed drongo cuckoo, little black bird with a forked tail that seemed to be kind of everywhere in Namibia. We were seeing drongos all over the place. The African paradise flycatcher, interesting bird, blue eye ring, the black body, the long brown tail, but despite what seemed like a bulky bird, he could get out and get flies with the best of them. This is more what I think of when I think of flycatchers, and a smaller bird that can zip out, little small bill, grab, come back. But this is the white-eyed slaty flycatcher. The Mariqua flycatcher. Into the shrikes. There was a number of kinds of shrikes there. We're used to just seeing one kind of shrike around here for the most part. The gray-backed shrike, the McKinnon's shrike, a little bit of brown on the wing, the red-backed shrike, and these were kind of all in the same area too in Rwanda. The lesser gray shrike, very similar to the gray-backed shrike to me, but the white-crowned shrike. Well, he's got a white crown. I get into that. The northern fiscal, yeah, all black bird with white stripes in it, and then white in the throat. Cape crow, this is a big old crow. He looked like an American crow. His bill structure looked a little different to me, but he was not as obviously different as the pied crow. I think of as like a magpie or something. The ashy tit, to me, this looked more like a woodpecker. And he almost behaved like a woodpecker, but according to eBirds, he is an ashy tit. He raised lark. Great shot, eh? Our guide would be zipping along in the desert in our vehicle. Hey, it's Great Shrike. Like, what? See over there? No, there, there. I can't even see a bird. He could tell me what kind of bird it is. So you'd zoom in and go, oh yeah, an indistinct little gray tannish bird against sand. It was so hard to see some of these birds. Any of these larks, they all tended to be the color, they were camouflaged. They were the color of sand and rocks around them. And they were all, patterned enough. It was, for me, quite difficult to tell them apart. The Sabota lark, the fawn colored lark, lots of larks. The dune lark, we actually got this one off a dune and into some little bit of shrub that's in the desert. Stark's lark. Flappet lark. This one we actually saw in Rwanda in a grassy field, and he was singing.
There was a problem with the Zoom link the guy sent. He had two
Please mute
dots
yourself if you
after the
could.
link.
We're all hearing you. The flappet
And I
lark.
figured it out.
Wow.
So I did it. And then other people started emailing him
Hello,
I
please mute
sent them-
yourself.
the right thing. And because I was the only person on for like
Yes,
15
well, you're
minutes.
on now still.
No one
And
figured it
we're all
out.
hearing you, so please
speaking?
mute yourself.
No, I don't have one.
Get it?
Okay,
When I do a Zoom like this, I don't
the
do.
green-backed Cameroptera, the kind of yellowish green wings.
Guy and his wife went to Namibia and Rwanda.
Janet, could you mute yourself? Hopefully. The rufous-eared warbler. We didn't actually see all that many warblers while we're there. The northern yellowed white-eye. Gee, I wonder how you got that name,
They on
being
there.
both yellow and having a big white eye. The greater striped swallow. Saw quite a number of these. The common bulbul. I don't know what's similar to bulbuls here in the States. The black-fronted bulbul. Again, I'm fascinated by really prominent eye rings, you can tell. The yellow-whiskered green bull. He's not a bulbul, he's a green bull. Don't know why. The black lord babbler. Well, the only black I saw was this kind of choppy little tail in the back of his butt. So apparently a butt and a tail is a lore. Well, ask Paul, he knows all this kind of stuff. He's right back there going, God, why is he speaking up here? The red-billed oxpecker. He's a red bill and he pecks at oxes. Well, not just oxes. The oxpeckers, they'll go on any of the bigger animals. I like this yellow-billed oxpecker. It's got a little yellow face on the back of a zebra. And I thought these are great animals. great symbiotic relationship. They come up, eat all the bugs off you. No, they don't. They actually peck a hole through your skin and drink your blood. And we saw one on a giraffe, and he had a wound, and it was, okay. The wattled starling, the kind of yellow head. Well, I meant to fix this typo. It's actually wattled. Liking that. You can see this wattle coming down the bill. This is just kind of a blurry picture, but it does show the longer wattle. The pale winged starling, pale spot in his wings when he flew away. Maeve's starling. These all had kind of a violet or a purple or some sort of shiny little color that doesn't always show in the pictures, but sometimes it does. The Cape starling, I mean, these things when the sun hit them, they just turned on like a hummingbird. Ruppel's starling, lots of purple. And this guy, the big white eyes, almost like an ivory-billed woodpecker. The African thrush, I would have thought that was a female robin or something. Well, robins are members of the thrush family. So this is very similar. Most of our niches are filled there with very similar birds as they are here. The ground scraper thrush scrapes the ground, uncovers insects and eats them. The short-toed rock thrush. Missed the toes. I guess they're short. The Cape robin chat. He looked more like a robin, but apparently, when a robin and chat get friendly, I don't know. Track chat. This is a desert chat out in the sand. I actually stood out because he was comparatively white. The northern anteater chat. The southern anteater chat. You can tell by the accent. Yeah, one says y'all. The mountain wheat ear. I don't know what is weedy about his ear, but there it was. The familiar chat. He just was around. The capped wheat ear. I should have put that with the other wheat ear. Had a little bit of a cap on him. The sooty chat. A darker gray. The dusky sunbird. The sunbirds are kind of the African equivalent of our hummingbirds. They cannot hover, like a hummingbird. That's a New World bird thing only. But they do pollinate flowers, and many of them have the coloration, that iridescent coloration that you get in hummingbirds as well, like this bronze sunbird. The variable sunbird. And the variable is because they actually have quite a lot of different patterns in them, but all of them spectacular. The Mariqua sunbird. All seem to have the downward curved bill and some gorgeous coloration. The blue-headed sunbird. The green-headed sunbird. The red-chested sunbird. Bright red chest in there, as opposed to the scarlet-chested sunbird. Hey, I'm a guy. To me, they're both red-breasted. The pin-tailed white, not a sunbird. Look at that tail, and this is not as long as the tail gets. This is, on its way to being in full breeding plumage. How it gets around with the tail that's, 5, 6, 7 times its own body length, I don't know. Very cool looking bird. The black-headed weaver. There's a lot of weaver species in Africa, and we saw several of them. The scaly weaver. Most of the weavers are kind of yellow with a black. This seemed to be an exception of the ones that we saw. Okay, this is the other exception. The exception is the exception. The white-browed sparrow weaver. The other exception, the sociable weaver. Thing I liked about these guys was their nest. I mean, all weavers weave nests. These guys don't weave a house, though. They weave a condo. They weave an apartment complex. This nest was the size of a small car. And the little tiny hole right about here, right about there, that's a social weaver sticking his head out the nest. It can fit hundreds and hundreds of birds in these nests. The southern masked weaver, he builds a solo. I mean, he's a standalone home. He builds this little upside down, looks like a stretched out acorn cap to me. This is an old one because it's turning brown. Hullub's golden weaver, a spectacled weaver, Bagel effect weaver, The village weaver. YMCA, no, not the village's people. Okay. The village weaver nest, he's just starting to build one. I'm utterly astounded by weavers. The fact that they can build a nest using their beak, not fingers, one beak, like building with a tweezer, the entire house using just a tweezer while hanging sometimes upside down by their toes. And they build a fairly complex nest. It just stuns me. The red-billed quelea, this is a member of the weaver family. This is also the most populous bird in the world. There are more red-billed quelea weavers than any other bird in the world. You'd see a tree, covered in leaves, and then all the leaves would fall up when they'd fly away. And you look close, and every branch was covered in these things. And this, I don't know, there might have been a few thousand of these birds of these trees. That's a tiny, tiny grouping of them. They can come in flocks measuring into the millions. And, of course, they wipe out crops and stuff. So not everybody's as crazy about them as I was. Quelea. It rhymes with, I don't know what. Nothing. The southern red bishop, I think this one was molting or immature or something. He was kind of all different kinds of colors. Normally they have a lot more red, I guess. The fan-tailed widow bird had a fantail. Don't know why he widowed or was called widowed. But the black and white mannequin. The common waxbill. We saw these near some other weavers in the marsh. Very delicate coloration in the belly with this gray feathers, that bold red stripe. I was quite taken by him. This guy, drab, ugly little violet-eared waxbill. God, it was like seeing a painted bunting for the first time. These were just explosive colors that just seemed unnatural. Like you gave the kid the wrong colors in the coloring book and they just colored something colorful and turned into this bird. The southern cordon bleu, I thought that was a name of food or something, but kind of turquoise little bird, and its cousin, the red-cheeked cordon bleu. Beautiful birds. The red-headed finch, again, a name I like. The African fire finch, all red as fire, I guess. Cape sparrow, very similar to the house sparrows. In fact, we saw house sparrows in Africa, but these had a strikingly different pattern of coloration, like a little bit of lipstick near the base of the bill. The northern gray-headed sparrow, the Cape wagtail, and it was kind of like a palm warbler. His tail was on the move all the time, bouncing up and down. Hence the name, I guess. The western yellow wagtail, the African pied wagtail. A lot of pied birds here, black and white pattern. Two color means pied. I would have thought, this is a meadowlark. No, it's Africa. This is a yellow-throated longclaw. Looks like, a duck, quacks like a duck. This was a meadowlark to me. Yellow canary. Yeah, another bird, you see in pet stores. Yeah, they actually come from the wild. Golden-breasted bunting. The black-billed turako. The turakos are fairly large birds, like 2 feet long. Only saw them in Rwanda and only saw fleeting glimpses of them, usually from far away. Like this was way up in a tree on the side of a hill. I don't know how the guide spotted them. It's green. It's in with green leaves and green moss on the tree. But he pointed them out to us, and we got on them. The blue turako is really spectacular. I got 4 glimpses of it, less than a second long, because I was sitting in front with the driver. Nobody else in our band even saw that. So birding can be frustrating. The Ross's turako, misspelled. The big yellow crest in the face. This is a bird I've seen in zoos as well. Interesting bird. The Rwanzi Renzori turako. We actually saw this one working on a nest. So we took pictures, looked at him, and then scooted pretty quickly away. And we never waited for him to get out in the open because we didn't want to spook them off their nest project. The Senegal kukul, I guess similarly related to the previous birds. The bright white-browed kukul, you can't see it there real well, but it has white brows. And the darkling beetle, which means that's the end of the bird pictures. I could do another 15 minutes on animals, but if you're bored, I don't blame you. I tend to go on and on these kinds of things. So if you're done, get up and leave. Or else come over to our house sometime. We'll bore you with the animal shots too. So from this point forward, it's all, you know, elephants and monkeys and crap like that. But you can do this. You can go out in the world and have an adventure like this. It was absolutely amazing. And the most amazing thing that we did, it didn't even make it to the picture you saw so far. We hiked up and got within 10 feet of mountain gorillas and stayed with them for an hour. And a couple of the babies came out and tried grabbing us and such. And you know, the silverback walk right back. It was an amazing adventure for someone who hasn't, not a big traveler. I am hooked on it now. So we're gonna go to the Galapagos in a month. We're gonna go to Europe in the fall. We're going to New Zealand next year, man. Once it bites hold of you, it's travel. It's amazing.
What kind of camera?
This was an all-in-one Sony RX10 Mark IV. Not a separate SLR, not a pocket camera. It has equivalent of about an 800 millimeter lens. The one guide we had in the first place said, "Ooh, can't recommend an all-in-one camera because they aren't built to the same tolerances of tightness and environment sealing as a big, you know, expensive SLR, but those are so heavy and bulky." And while we were there, one of our other members of the travel group had a Nikon P900, which is an all-in-one with a much longer telephoto lens, and hers jammed up. It got dust in the works and would not shut down, and she lost the rest of the trip for taking pictures.
What was the name of the tour group?
We went through, someone just asked, what's the name of the tour group? The official group was Rock Jumper out of South Africa. They actually subcontracted to a group, Batiste Birding out of Namibia. And then we did an independent, another group that kind of was organized by Rock Jumper, but it was like Thousand Hills in Rwanda. So it was two different trips. We just happened to do them back to back and stayed there for both of them. And they were both custom trips. A lady that we've traveled with on cruises, she does this thing where you go on a cruise ship, she has like a dozen cabins, you buy them through her, and then every island you go to, you go bird watching. They've got a bus and a driver and an expert local bird guide, and you go out for a couple hours, real easy birding. Well, during the pandemic, her business was shut down, so she decided to travel. She went to Africa, came back, said, I got to go back, and there's a couple places I really want to go, but she wanted to customize the trip, and she went through Rock Jumper, says, if I get half a dozen other people to come with me, will you do this trip where we don't move every single night to a different lodge? We stay for 2-3 nights at each lodge. Yeah, you get 6. So she called us up and a few other people, and we joined her, and it was amazing.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Where'd he go? I thought we were going to see the animals.
I guess he's not going to show the animals today. Sorry. There was demand for animals.
I can show them, but I'm painfully aware how long slideshows can be. It'll be another 15 minutes, and I'm sure the butts are all sore, and you're tired of hearing my voice.
I'm good.
Jerry has private show. Jerry has turned into that guy that's on that first cartoon from the New Yorker that without the binoculars and everything. I know, I've been there. By the way, the company that he mentioned, Rock Jumper, is based out of South Africa, and in my opinion, it's the best birding company for Africa. I mean, U.S. companies go there; they go there once or twice a year. These guys live there. When I went to Ghana last year, I went with Rock Jumper. They just do a fabulous job.
Our guide at the first, we'll say local, the first town we stayed at was called Swakopmund. He was from Swakopmund. He lived there. So, you know, our hotel was like within a mile of his house. He knew everything: lizards, insects, birds, plants, everything. And Swakopmund, by the way, Namibia is a German colony from the 1900s. Mund means mouth. Swakop refers to the river that goes near there. It's a dry river because there's only rains once every 10 years or something. And it literally means river ship. So he lives in the mouth of the river ship. I didn't ask him what the school motto, what they're. I'm not afraid to find out.